Yo, this is Christian. Today I want to talk about an interesting subject, which is learning to code is no longer difficult. That era where people used to struggle, where I used to struggle 5 years ago, it's gone. It's not a thing anymore, right? We live in a different era right now, and we have to embrace it, and we need to accept the fact that this thing is way easier, and it should take maybe 6 9 months, maybe maximum of 1 year, to get you from zero all the way to becoming hired. Okay, the reason why it used to be difficult is because the traditional approach is watch someone code or buy a textbook or go to school, and you would be following these random algorithms or these random explanations of code, and you'll always be left out scratching your head and trying to understand what's happening, or how could you actually take those concepts and apply them to your own world so you can actually make sense of them. Because if you understand the concepts but you cannot put them into practice, then you did not really understood the concept. Okay, the new way of learning to code is actually super simple, and I want to share it with you. And I'm sharing this with you because this is what I do in my coaching program, where I teach people programming, and it's super easy to follow. There are a few main rules that you need to have in mind while you're going at it, while you're building up this skill set. Because at the end of the day, it's a skill set, it's not magic, right? It's not a magic trick or something that just happens. It's science, right? And it's logic, and it can be practiced and it can be learned with time. This is, by the way, a quick sideway. This is something that people don't understand that much. If you are doing something today and you don't see the result right now or tomorrow, that doesn't mean the result of your action will not follow. It's gonna come, but later down the line. Okay, we cannot get instant gratification like when we post something on LinkedIn or on Instagram and then we get a bunch of likes. That's instant gratification, and it happens pretty much instant, right? But with coding or with football, let's say, or with entrepreneurship or playing piano, whatever you are doing today is gonna yield the result later down the line, in 6 months, 1 year. Same with going to the gym, same with having a diet. So let's all agree that this might take some time. Okay, right. The first important principle that you need is boundaries. Okay, once you get out of the first phase, which is understanding functions and if statements and loops and variables, once you understand all those things, which might take a bit of time, right, until your brain makes the connection, then you need to trust yourself that you can solve problems given the limited amount of tools that you have. Okay, you need to trust yourself that you can solve problems, and you need to stick with a problem until you solve it. And the problem needs to be appropriate to your level, because if I give you I don't know, build a single page application with React and Redux and just finish JavaScript, then nothing is gonna make sense to you and you're burn out really fast. Okay, so the problem that you solve needs to be appropriate to your current experience level, or your current understanding level. The boundaries that I build for people are made in such a way that I know they will be able to find the answers on the internet. So I never show anyone how I make, for example, a to-do app or a calculator. I never show that. Sometimes I help them, but I don't have a video with me building that, because the purpose of that problem is that they can go out there and find the solution for different problems, and they need to find ways in which they can break the problem into smaller problems that they can actually solve. Actually, I have a video about first principles thinking, where I teach people how to break things down into small problems. When you have these boundaries, it's easier for you to relax, okay? Because if you don't have these boundaries, every single day you need to find the boundaries, and you need to figure out if the boundaries that you are looking at is the right one for you. And if you are unsure if this boundary or this problem that you are trying to solve is appropriate to your level, you might be thinking that you're not good enough, and you'll go back and start over. Myself, I was doing this quite a lot. I remember I was learning from a book called Eloquent JavaScript, and it was really, really difficult. And I was doing some free code camps, some Udemy, some Udacity. And whenever I wasn't getting it, whenever I couldn't progress because I was unsure if this problem is appropriate for me, because the book cannot give you feedback, it's just a book, it's been written once, and let's hope it works for everyone. I was thinking I'm not good enough, and then I was starting over. What is a variable? What's an if statement? What's a function? But I already knew these things. But I didn't know what's the appropriate problem for me to solve in order to go to the next level, okay? And another concept that I want you to have in mind is that you are a junior developer, okay? You are a junior developer, and you need to do junior developer stuff, okay? I see many people trying to come up with project ideas. That's not your job, right? You can do that later when you are an effective developer, when you're a deadly developer, when you're a savage at your craft, then yes, come up with a project idea. But until you are at that level, in my opinion, you shouldn't come up with any project ideas, okay? Then another thing that people are struggling with and they are spending a lot of time on is design. People are trying to learn Photoshop, Figma, I don't know, they are going through courses to learn typography. That's not your job. I'm not doing that at work. Guess what? I have a designer that prepares all my designs for me, right? So for some reason in this industry, right, junior developers are made to take on way too many responsibilities that are distracting them from the actual writing code part, which is literally the reason why you're getting hired. No senior developer is gonna create UI designs, or no senior developer is gonna come up with an app idea. That's not his job, his or her job. Coming up with the app idea, it's the entrepreneur's job. Coming up with the design and the UX is the designer's job, right? Coming up with the code reviews, that's the senior's job. And the junior is just fixing bugs or creating small features. This is your only job, okay? Now, you also need to have a proper app, but this goes in contradiction to what I said before. And you also need to have a good design for your app. And again, this goes in contradiction to your own, to my words from a few minutes ago. Yeah, that doesn't mean that your app should be crap, because if your app is crap and if your app is not as close to the real world as possible, you'll not be hired, okay? That's one of the reasons why I have chose a few apps that I give to my students. There are two apps that I give. One is data driven and another one is media driven, right? So with pictures and stuff like that, and the other one is data. So graphs, charts, things like that. And I make sure that those apps have all the elements needed that they will be using in the real world as well, okay? And then when it comes to design, I have prepared like designs created by a designer, right? Because I'm not gonna do that, I'm not a designer. But that's all covered for them, so they can only focus on the coding part, okay? The same with the management, what task is most important. That's what I do for them. I tell them, this is most important, this is one, this is gonna provide more value, right? And because I'm the senior developer, the junior developer should just code. Code. That's it. They need to practice thinking, not designing or coming up with ideas. That's not their job. And one of the reasons they work with me is because I help them have clean code. Having clean code is gonna help you massively. Once, for getting that first job, and two, for keeping your job, and three, for getting paid a lot of money in the future. The better you can write your code, the more valuable you're gonna be, okay? Because if no one understands your code, then no one will want to work with you. Yeah, this is super important. Now, I want to tell you that another important principle that you need to follow is to have an understanding of each piece of technology that you are using, right? So I see a lot of people that jump into, let's say, React way too soon, and they jump into Redux way too soon. You should jump into React when you have exhausted what you can do with JavaScript. You should jump into Redux when you have exhausted what you can do with React, okay? And then you should jump into Node.js and the database when you have exhausted what you can do with React and Redux. That should take you months and months, right, of work until you get to that level. Otherwise, everyone would be a full stack developer and no one would be a senior React developer, right? You need to have experience with the technology, not just it's experience and I forgot the word. I'm gonna remember and I'm gonna make another video about this. Right, so you need to have a lot of experience with one technology until you can say, okay, I understand this, I'm comfortable with this, I get the flow of how these things should work, now let me go and learn something else. What most people do is they build a to-do app with React and Redux, and they add a Node.js endpoint, Node.js server to it, a login feature, and that's it. That's their biggest app. How boring is that? Everyone does the same thing. It's pretty boring if you ask me, but that's the sad reality of what people do right now, you know. And I don't want you to do that. This concept is called just-in-time versus just-in-case learning. Just-in-time is learn it when you need it, and just-in-case is what people do is they learn everything. They have FOMO and they learn literally every single piece of technology that's out there just because they saw someone tweet about it. Okay, don't do that. You'll be wasting your time and you'll become more confused. Choose 2 or 3 things, stick with those 2-3 things, and then you'll become good. And when you become good, that's the moment when you need to get hired. When you get hired, get even better at those 3 things, and then decide if you want to either learn a backend technology, for example, or if you are going into backend, learn frontend, or then you can decide if you want to create an application of your own, right? And then you need to learn marketing, sales, and other skills, or you can pay someone to do it for you. Anyway, my rant is over. I hope I have shown you that learning to code is no longer difficult. And if you want to work with me directly, there is a link somewhere here in the description. You can book a free consultation call with me, absolutely free. You won't be charged a dime. And then I'm going to jump on a call with you on a Zoom call, and we'll figure out what your problem is, where you need to go, and if we can actually work together. Yeah, that's it. Peace out.